All right, so we are continuing our sermon series. One second, before we continue, my voice is. You would think with all the talking that I do during the week that my voice would be warmed up already for Sunday, but man, sometimes, we're continuing with this sermon series. It's called The Week, this is one of my favorite ideas. We're interweaving the themes of Holy Week with the themes of the week of creation. And I love this idea, and here's why. The themes of creation is the redemptive arc in the Old Testament. It is the redemption story in the Old Testament. Like everything flows off of those 6 days of creation going into the rest of God, right? Like that's just how they understood this. I'm going to show that this week a little bit, this here in a second. And what I love about this is that you're getting a glimpse into what all of this looks like, into what the redemption of God looks like. Now, so the last couple weeks we've been in chapter 21 of Matthew. And we're going through chapter 21, and we're kind of walking through each day of creation. Today's readings, the reason why there was a gospel lesson that Nancy read and one that I read is because we're doing like 4 chapters. It's chapters 22 through 25 today. And these chapters are scary. It's the apocalypse stuff, right? In the apocalypse stuff, you're like, all this darkness is coming in around me. All that tohu vavohu, wild and waste, right? But remember, God said, let there be light. And we connected that to Palm Sunday, Jesus coming in to the midst of dark Jerusalem. And then he said, let the waters be separated, right? The waters be separated. And it was like this water of chaos was over us all over us all. And it was causing where we can't breathe, almost like we're drowning. And he separated the waters and made us so where he could breathe yet again in that. And Jesus did that with the overturning of the tables in the temple there, and making it to where those that were on the outside, those that all the hurt and those that were blind, the temple was a place that was available for them. And then you had the third day, which is those dangerous seas are sequestered into seas even more by the dry ground coming up. And that dry ground caused all of this fruitfulness everywhere to pop up. All these fruit trees and things like that. And so Jesus, when he's walking back to the temple the next day, he sees this tree that has all these leaves on it. It looks healthy. And he looks and he peers through all the leaves looking for a nice fig Newton there. And there's nothing there. There's no fruit on that tree. And he ends up cursing it and all stuff. And it shows the fruitfulness. And as we're going through each day, it's almost like as we go towards Good Friday into Easter, it's like the creation itself is being rolled back. All these things are being rolled back and back and back as tohu vavohu, that wild and waste, those formless and void is taking over everywhere, right? Like and it just looks like all of that is going away as we get closer and closer to Good Friday, which we're celebrating Good Friday on Palm Sunday there. So let's read day 4 of creation. Now, I want you to notice something. What sounds familiar? Here's the beginning here. And God said, let there be lights. That sounds familiar, does it not? How did the first day of creation start? Let there be light, right? Interesting. What we're going to see, I'm going to show you here in a second, but you're going to see how you have day 1, 2, and 3, and then as soon as we go into 4, 5, and 6, that it's just filling out each day of creation. So he said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them serve as signs to mark the special days. You guys know why Easter is when it is, right? Like Easter If you ever wondered why, like Christmas is on December 25th, right? Like it's like a day. My birthday, which is like right after Easter, is like one of the close days, right after Christmas and Easter, June 4th. You can tell like the birds sing a little happier on that day, like all those things. Some of you are laughing a little too much at that, but that's all right. We can get by that. But that's Easter is because of the moon stuff. Notice what it says here. And let them serve as signs to mark the sacred times, the days, and the years. And let the lights in the vault of the sky to give light to the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights. The greater light to govern the day, to take away the chaos. You see it? To govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. And he made the stars. And God set them in the vault of the sky and gave light to the earth to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, right? And there was evening and there was morning, the fourth day. He's filling out the creation. And so I want to show you this. We're really going to talk about this next week, but I want to get into you before we even get there. Notice you have day 1, 2, and 3 over here, right? Let there be light, separation of the waters, and then dry ground and fruitfulness appear, right? And look at day 4, looks just like day 1. Except it's filling it out. It's filling out the creation as we go. Day 5 is birds of the air, fish of the sea, right? So we're looking at all of these things, filling out the creation as we continue our looking through it. And so as we go through all of this, we see how God is filling out the light. The sun, moon, and the stars that help govern our days, to help provide order. But the problem is what happens when the order goes astray? What happens when the order falls apart? I mean, has anyone else been really screwed up this last week? Like we're talking about all these things, like the time change happened, and man, I cannot get back onto a good schedule, right? For those with little kids, how have they been doing this week? Have they gotten back on schedule yet? Because this toddler hasn't. I can be honest with that. Like it was like I didn't, I'm still not waking up. I haven't set an alarm for myself in years. Like that's because I just kind of wake up. Like that's when I knew I passed a certain oldness threshold. When I was just like, well, I'm just awake now. And then my alarm goes off like four minutes later. I'm like, what has happened to me? I used to be able to sleep till noon. But now my alarm's waking me up. I'm waking up and I'm all groggy. I'm still all messed up. And that is just an hour difference. Just an hour. In Matthew chapter 22 through 25, it's all of this apocalyptic stuff. And he says, be ready, because tough times are coming. And look at how he describes it. He goes, immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies be shaken. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. In the Old Testament, that's said that the sign of the Son of Man is the great and glorious day of the Lord. It's like this scary thing. It's like, oh my goodness. Like think about how messed up I am when we move the clocks 1 hour and we're talking about the sun isn't going to shine anymore. That's rough, right? That's rough, especially for us Floridians. We have a special acquaintance with the sun. My friend Mark, his wife, when they moved to Seattle, if you've been to Seattle, sun doesn't shine much there. They had to buy one of those like UV lamps because they were going into depression hardcore on all that. Like that. It was awful, right? We have a special, and it just goes away. Imagine the chaos. And we continue to read from here. And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see that the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds and from the one end of the heavens to the other. What's Jesus saying here? It sounds like, oh, hey, this is coming, be prepared and all that stuff. And I think that's right. But maybe he's talking about some of this has already happened. It hasn't happened here, but maybe it's already happened for us, right? Because he's like, the sun will be drained, right? The moon will not give its light. These things that govern the day and the night, right? Those things that govern our sacred times, they will be taken away, and it will just heave us into the midst of chaos. And that's so much more than just an hour shifting, right? And you're like, Jesus, what are you talking about here? Actually, what he's talking about, so Jesus, when he's mentioning all this apocalyptic, scary stuff in the Gospels, he's actually kind of in the stream of a lot of the Old Testament prophets. He's in the stream of what a lot of people have talked about over the years and years. Isaiah mentions things like this. Amos mentions things like this. And since we did Amos in Bible study a few weeks ago, we'll quote Amos. Look at how Amos puts all this. He goes, this is from Amos chapter 8. In that day, declares the sovereign Lord, I will make the sun go down at noon and darken the earth in broad daylight. I will turn your religious festivals into mourning and all your singing into weeping. I will make all of you wear sackcloth and shave your heads. I will make that time like mourning for an only son and the end of a bitter day. Right? Amos is basically saying, because of our sin, destruction will come. Destruction will come. That's scary. And it sounds chaotic, right? That sounds chaotic, but notice how it puts it here. I will make the sun go down at noon and darken the earth in broad daylight, and I will turn your religious festivals into mourning. Does that not seem like a beat for beat of day 4 of creation? You see it? It sounds like it's all this same stuff, that when the great and glorious day of the Lord appears, it almost seems like it's this overturning all of this stuff. And it makes it seem like we are all helpless. Right? It makes it seem like it all hurts. And there's this sense that because of our sin and rebellion, all of this will come on to us, that the giant gears that run the clock of the universe, when the great and glorious day of the Lord appears, that it'll all just stop. That's kind of terrifying. That's kind of terrifying. Because it's not some measly time change, but the sun and the moon and the stars are the governors that abdicate their throne. Think about in Jesus' time. So Jesus is there, and when he looks at the fig tree, one of the things that he says, he goes, if you have enough faith, you can say to this mountain, and he's pointing, I think, I could be wrong, but I kind of know the geography of that area. He's pointing at the temple. And he's like, if you have enough faith, you can say to this temple, this mountain, be thrown into the sea, and it will. And he's basically saying, you can throw away the temple. But think about how the Jewish people in that day and time, what they thought about the temple. The temple was everything. That is where God came. And do you know what happened? The temple ended up being destroyed. Do you know how soon the temple was destroyed from Jesus? Do you guys remember 9/11? Remember that? It's like 25 years ago now. Something like that. That's crazy. That's also, I was 1 year out of high school then, by the way, just let you guys know. That's I haven't done an old person joke in a while, so that was for you guys. But that's been about 25 years. That's about how much time from when Jesus said all this apocalyptic stuff to the temple being destroyed. Think about that. That's in that time frame. Think about that. And why was the temple destroyed? Remember when Jesus walked into Jerusalem or rode it on the back of a donkey, went into Jerusalem and he said, And he weeps for them because you guys know what it takes for peace, but you refuse to do it, right? And what ended up happening is 30 years after Jesus, Rome finally got tired of all of the just garbage that Jerusalem was doing and came in and sacked Jerusalem. Came in and destroyed them and destroyed the temple on top of there. Can you imagine being a Hebrew person and seeing and hearing reports of the temple being destroyed? What do you think? Does it seem like the light is shining? It's darkness all around, right? Like, what's the point now? It's all gone. It's all gone. Why is it here? And not only the temple, but we also have this stuff in our own lives. You know, we have health stuff. You know, like that you get a diagnosis and you're sitting in that room looking at the doctor that's half your age, you know? And like that, I understand that now too, because I go see a resident doctor doing his residency, and I'm like, this guy, he was barely alive at 9/11, you know? Like that's, and I look at him, and I haven't gotten any bad diagnosis, but I can only imagine, you know? Do you have eyes to see the light outside? You know? Or think about like relationship trauma that we go through, where either we or someone else in our lives have actually caused real hurt and damage to us. And suddenly we've finally gotten past that person, and then we see them in the parking lot of the Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. And suddenly the light goes out of us, you know? And what happens when all of a sudden that chaos and that darkness reigns inside of us? All of a sudden there's no governing anything, and and we get all these kind of bad ways of dealing with it. We want to put on our war paint and like, I'm gonna go deal with this. We often try to find light ourselves, or in the midst of chaos, we end up trying to call darkness light. All right, so we got to talk about the news a little bit, all right? We're in a conflict with Iran, right now. Now, here's why I'm talking about that. Is my Facebook feed from not, well, friends, you know, everyone's a friend on Facebook type of thing, like from my family members, right? And these aren't direct family members. These are acquaintances, great aunts, uncles, you know, all of that stuff there, right? They over there. And I can't just blame Coley's Alabama side of the family. Like that, it's equally spread out on either side here. But there is a giddiness to this war that's going on with them right now in their post. One of them that I remember seeing last week was, well, if the temple is destroyed, you guys know what's going to happen. You know what they're saying there? They're saying that if all this happens, then that will open up the way for Jesus to come back. What they're saying is that the darkness of conflict and on destruction is actually the light. I'm not too big on saying anything unequivocal. That's all trash. We know neither the day nor the hour, right? And what I've discovered in my vast years of being a pastor now and all that stuff is that when people are saying that Jesus is going to come back when all these things are happening, are usually trying to sell something, right? Don't pay attention to that. But the problem is that we often look at all of these things and we think that, well, like if in desperation and in the midst of the chaos and the darkness of everything's going on, we start trying to call light all this other stuff. But when the truth of the matter is that when chaos comes around us, I think it's important that we just stop and realize that what happens on the other days of creation, that we can stop and we can just breathe. Just breathe. I also think all this apocalyptic stuff that Jesus is talking about, that I think he's also talking about the great and glorious day of the Lord when it comes, where God who said, let there be light. When he says, the God who said, separate the waters. And the God that hung the stars and the moon from the sky, right? When he said all those things, when that God suddenly is in the midst of the cross for us. And do you remember what happened when he was on the cross? That he's in the middle of crying, my God, why have you forsaken me? And we see that it's like tohu vavohu, that the creation rolls back with Jesus on the cross, taking us back to that formless and void where we can't breathe or anything once again. And we see about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels or the sun. That's not what I wanted there. This is what I wanted. Here we go. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness, this is Jesus on the cross, darkness came over all the land. You see it? The clock stopped. No sun, no moon, no nothing. Just tohu vavohu in the midst of chaos. The sun going darkened in the middle of the day. And so you have this story here that was read in the gospel lesson. That Jesus said that the coming will look like these 10 virgins. Let me tell you about the virgins real fast. Virgins is an unfortunate word. I don't know why we're still doing that in our English translations. It's the reason why virgins is used, it's the same word for young maiden, right? So like if you have a daughter, we have all of our daughters kind of ran out there. In the Bible, it's the same word as virgins. There's just virgins running around everywhere, right over there. Like Coley's dealing with all of our virgins right now, right? Like that. I'm glad you're laughing at that because we also thought it was funny because virgins in Greek also is a very easy word to parse. And so when we're learning Greek and all that stuff, the virgins is a very easy noun to parse. And so the virgins are always getting up into hijinks in all of our translations. I don't know why we don't translate them as maidens or something like that or girls, but like that's I think they do it because we all think it's funny. But it just means young maidens. So these in chapter 25, you have these 10 young maidens. You have them that some of them have enough oil and some do not have enough oil for the night. And the bridesmaid comes so much later, right? He comes so much. So what's the difference between these two? 5 were ready for the darkness, and they were able to sit in it. And the 5 foolish ones went unprepared. Why are they foolish? It's because they took the light for granted. They lived their lives as if the sun would just rise forever. Assumed that there would always be another tomorrow, another Sunday, another sacred day to get serious about the faith, but instead, they're flung into the chaos as the clocks stop. And so we, as we see with Jesus who's on the cross, when the sun and the moon are darkened, come over the land, we remember what God has done. That God the Father was never far from Jesus in the midst of the chaos. When he was in the darkness of the cross, and even he's crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me? God isn't far from that. And Jesus takes on the chaos and he dies for all of us. And he's placed in a tomb of tohu vavohu, wild and waste and darkness. But that we have hope because the Spirit of God was still over us and even in the midst of chaos. And with a call of the Father that said, let there be lights. Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night and let them serve as signs to mark the sacred times and years. And Jesus comes up in the brilliance of the light and of the new dawn of the creation to bring us and go, I have taken the chaos from you. And he raised up to be that light. And what I love in the Bible is that you have like the great and glorious day of the Lord, which I think is the cross of Jesus, that is all there together. And that there's a time coming when all of it will be fully realized in the seventh day of the creation. And John begins to talk about it at the end of Revelation. And he goes, I did not see a temple in the city. Remember, the temple was destroyed, right? I didn't see a temple in the city because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. And the city doesn't need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives its light, and the Lamb is its lamp. Jesus is the light that reigns and gives order and peace, and the new creation is here. So when we see in our own lives, be it through medical, through relationship trauma, through all of these things, when we see in our lives that everything has fallen apart and the chaos has reigned, breathe. Because the God's Spirit brings breath to each in us. It's not up to us to make the light. It's not up to you to make the light shine. Breathe. He will carry you through. And everything's going to be okay, even when it doesn't seem like it is. Just breathe. Because he will say, let there be lights. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. And that's good news. Let's say a prayer. God, we thank you that you are with us and that you're always guiding us. Guide us along our paths, Lord. And Lord, despite the darknesses that we face in our own lives, may we always be prepared for them, and that we can rest in the fact that you will always be with us, leading us through. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. And we'll sing our next song.